Finally, the time is here. The newest Electro DPS Flins has released and he is amazing. Not only is he very cool with arguably the best animations in the game, he is loads of fun and has very impressive damage. He has it all. And to help you build your Flins as best as possible, I've studied his kit, ran all the numbers on his build equipment, and I'll share all my findings with you. So as always, sit back, relax, hit the like button, and let's master Flins together. First up with Flins is his elemental skill. When dealt, Flins enters the Manifest Flame form, infusing his normal attacks with Electro and enabling him to deal the ultra-powerful Lunar Charge reaction. On top of this, the casting of his skill transforms all of his abilities into special versions. All of these special abilities are very important, but one of the most important of them is his special skill. It's a quick attack that deals solid damage, but its true value lies into what it enables for. When performed, Flins gains an attack window of 6 seconds to deal his special burst, which you can tell by the fire emanating from his burst. So just like Varessa, Flins has the option of performing either his normal burst or a special elemental burst. His normal burst is just like any other. Aside from being the coolest in the game, after its animation follows a string of attacks that all directly deal lunar charge damage, inflicting major damage on enemies. Alternatively, you could opt for his special burst, the sole weakness of it being nowhere near as cool as its normal counterpart. Other than the loss of aura, it outputs far higher damage than the normal burst, costs fewer energy, and best works within his rotations. Thus, while Flint's normal burst is very cool, generally you don't really want to perform it, at least if you're going for max damage. However, there is a way to include it in his rotations, through energy recharge. If Flins has enough, he can perform his normal burst in the beginning of his rotation, and with enough energy in the 6-second window, he can then go on to perform his special burst when he needs to. I don't know about you, I'm going to be going with this route, but regardless, for whichever burst you use, it is a powerhouse of a move. You will absolutely decimate enemies with it, and it is by far Flint's strongest move. But remarkably, there's ways to make it even stronger than it is. With Moonsign Ascendant Gleam, Flint's burst deals 2 extra instances of damage if a lunar charge cloud is present. Furthermore, with Ascendant Gleam, Flint's lunar charge damage is increased by 20%. If this wasn't enough, Flint's passive go on to further buff his burst and lunar charge damage, like his passive that raises his lunar charge damage based on his attack stat, and another passive that synergizes with this perfectly. With this in mind, when you begin to upgrade Flint's, first prioritize his elemental burst since it is his best talent, then prioritize his elemental skill to buff his infused normals, and finally, ignore his normal attack talent. Next up, let's break down the best weapons to equip on Flynn. First up ranks his signature polearm, and to be quite honest, it's pretty broken. Check this out, it grants high attack so all of his attack reliant passives are benefited, and with some nice crit rate as a cherry on the top. But the real game changer is its passive, raising his lunar charge damage by a huge percentage, in addition to his crit damage and energy regeneration. So in all aspects, this polearm improves Flynn. Still, it's by no means required for you to get his signature since there's a lot of really strong options you can go for. Like his second best option, the Scarlet Sands. It seems like with every polearm user, I'm always talking highly about the Scarlet Sands, and this even extends to Flynn's. It's like his signature, giving less refined but still incredibly useful stats that buff the same key things. At third, dealing very impressive damage was the Staff of Homa. Its absurdly high crit damage drastically improved Flynn's burst, and it gave it an all-new damage ceiling. If you have it, you'll be very pleased with the damage numbers you'll see, and this applies for really every crit damage polearm like a Nepha's or even a Scoffier's. Next ranked the Jadewing Spear, and this brought a smile to my face. The Jadewing Spear is incredible on Flynn's. It mimics his signature through its high attack and crit rate, plus with all of his different attacks, he will always max out its passive and utilize the spear's full potential. This results in DPS very close to the Homa, making the spear the perfect sweet spot for all players. A free weapon that mirrors the damage of limited ones, but of course, you need to get lucky on the standard banner. The Calamity Queller is great if you've got it, and if not this, you can slap on him any other crit rate staff if you've got him. This brings us to 4-star polearms, and crazily enough, his 4-star staffs are actually extremely good on him. The best of them being the craftable Not Cry staff, and yes, you heard me right, his best 4-star is a craftable. It gives direct buffs to his lunar charge damage, which gives him a massive edge in terms of damage. At R1 it's great, but at R5 it effectively becomes a 5-star polearm since its damage resembles that of 5 stars. So all you free-to-play players rejoice, you have a more than good option for free. But for any of you deathmatch havers, you should not get too allured by the craftable, since the deathmatch performed very close to the craftable, so I'm ranking them as equal. Slightly worse, but still very noteworthy, is the ballad. Additionally, there's the missive wind spear and the ohanashi, the latter solving all of his energy issues, but really, with the not quite craftable, you shouldn't use any of them. If you're working to reach not quite but are still stuck in Mondstadt, you can simply go for the halberd or the white tassel. Before we continue, I just ask that you take a quick second to like the video. This goes a long way in helping out the channel and would mean a lot. But back to Flins, let's now shift over to a bit of a complex side to Flins, his artifacts. There's actually a surprising number of sets that are viable on him, which is great in terms of flexibility, but of course complicates his build. To ease the confusion, here is his best sets ranked in terms of damage. His best in class set is the new Night of the Skies Unveiling. To no surprise, since it is perfect for Flins. Its 2-piece increases elemental mastery, which caters perfectly to Flynn's lunar charge playstyle. And the 4-piece raises his crit rate, key for personal damage and lunar charge, while throwing in some direct buffs to any lunar charge reaction performed. While this set absolutely reigns supreme, it has the major downside of being contingent on your team's moon sign. Only with Ascent Gleam, so at least 2 Notcry units in your team, do you receive the max buffs of this set. Otherwise, you get the minimum buffs, which significantly reduces Flynn's strength. Now, to be honest, this isn't too big of a bad thing, since you really want to play Flins in Ascent Gleam anyways, given all the benefits he gains from it. In second place was Marechaussee Hunter. This is your next best choice if you don't want to be limited by Ascent Gleam and plan to play Flins with Farina. At third place, which doesn't appear as great but is a set I really like, is Gilded Dreams. While certainly not top tier, the benefit of Gilded is that you receive 2 important stats of attack and DM, but with no strings attached. It doesn't matter what team you play Flins in or who he is with, he will always receive Gilded's max buffs. Similar in this manner but weaker is any 2 pieces of attack and EM, followed by 2 pieces giving attack. If you're too early in the game, you should mix and match any sets that increase attack and EM or even energy. For whichever set you go for, equip an attack percentage Sands, attack percentage Goblet, and crit for the Circlet. Attack is key given all his passives and to deal the highest lunar damage possible, yet while 2 attack and crit is best, you can output slightly less but still very close damage with EM, attack percentage, and crit. Therefore, if you want or have no other choice in using an EM Sands or Goblet, you totally can. With these main stats, as always, aim for both crits, EM, and attack, but an equally important stat is energy recharge. Because so much of Flynn's damage comes from his burst, you by no means want to miss out on his burst due to a lack of energy. If you don't have his signature, get about 115% at least, and if like me you want to utilize his normal burst, I've had good results with about 145%. Now let's cover all of Flins Constellations, and I'm glad to say that whether you're lucky or you want to go all in for Flins, you have good reason for doing so as he has some remarkably strong constellations. Take for example his C1, it reduces the cooldown of his special skill and restores to him energy when lunar charge is performed. At face value this seems like just like a quality of life upgrade, but it's actually a damage increase, as with this skill you'll be able to perform more of his special burst, so you'll deal more damage in his rotations. Another really good constellation as usual is his C2. After his skill, when Flins is normal attacking, an instance of damage will be dealt that's considered lunar charge damage, so this will be a noticeable damage increase. But more importantly, when Ascendant Gleam is active, opponents will have their electro resistance reduced by 25%. This is huge and will give him a major damage increase to himself or any other electro character in his team. But of course, this should apply to his lunar charge damage, so this will make C2 a major damage increase. Up comes C4, and you'd think this is a quality of life upgrade, as C4s oftentimes are, but instead it's another increase to his damage. It furthers his attack, so his attack and all his attack passives will be benefited from this, but it also increases the limit of his EM increasing passive, so the attack increase doesn't just keep him at the same EM, but rather it gives him even more EM. Finally, we come to his C6. Lunar Charge is already very powerful, and C6 just takes this to another level. And now, Flynn's Lunar Charges will receive a 35% damage increase. And then for any other of your party members that deal Lunar Charge, they'll get a smaller but still very noticeable 10% boost. Last but not least, let's go over some great teams that will really elevate your Flins. I will most likely make a dedicated team guide for Flins to go in great detail, but at least for now, this is his best team currently, and that is with Anefa, Sucrose, and a Hydroflex spot. I swear with every Notcry update, Anefa just seems to be getting better and better on her own as a sub DPS. She is just too good. Her damage is extremely high and consistent, and best of all, she even grants him a shield, which makes a big impact for Flins as he is very vulnerable in his rotations. If you have both Flins and Anefa, let me know in the comments. I'm totally not jealous, but thankfully, however, the other very strong but easily accessible teammate of Flins is Sucrose. Other animal characters are certainly viable, but Sucrose stands as the best of them, as though like them she can run 4 Viridescent, only she can hold Thrilling Tales for a ludicrous attack increase towards Flins, and she alone grants him extra EM. She's one of the few characters that does this, and this will bestow a major damage gain towards Flins' lunar charges. So yet again, all you Anefa players are eating well, and yet again I'm haunted by the fact that I don't have her, but still a free-to-play friendly but still more than solid team composition is Flynn slotted in with Sucrose, Fischl, and Ino. Fischl, though certainly not on the same level as Anefa, is still valuable in any team. Her consistent off-field damage is great, and she's really great in terms of energy particles, which will really do wonders for Flynn's energy issues. Next to her, we've got Ino, who though appears as bad, she's actually a really good character. Support-wise, Ino is irreplaceable. She can hold the new Notcry set, giving Flynn's elemental mastery, as well as maxing out the Sky's Unveiling set, and giving him all the major buffs that come from Ascent Gleam. And if you're lucky enough with this banner, Ino can buff reaction damage with her Constellation, so Ino is deceptively good and more than deserving of a spot next to Flynn's. Well everyone, this is my Flynn's guide. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions on him, be sure to ask me in the comments. Thanks for watching.